The first time I saw her, she was sitting in the dust beside the gate of Ebenoloa Academy, barefoot and holding a torn exercise book like it was a holy relic. Her name was a Duke, though I didn't know it yet. She looked like the kind of child Lagos forgets, too quiet, too still, like the city noise had passed over her. She wasn't begging, just watching the uniformed kids walk past her every morning, shoes polished, bags zipped, talking about cartoons and jollof rice. She watched them like someone watching a dream they had once had, but forgot how to return to. That morning was hot and dry, the kind of heat that makes the road shimmer and the guards grumpy. One of them, Tayo, a round-bellied man with sunglasses too big for his face, spotted her as she leaned closer to hear through the fence. I was walking up the path when I heard him shout, "Hey you think this is your house? Move." He stormed over and grabbed the girl by the arm. She yelped, not loud, but like someone who's learned crying doesn't help. He shoved her backward into the dust. "Dirty street rat! Go sleep where you came from." I paused. I wasn't supposed to interfere. I was just a driver. Chuka, Mr. Ajay's loyal, low-profile driver. Quiet, reliable, invisible. But something about the way she curled her arms around that notebook hit me in the chest. Then Omatola, Mr. Ajay's daughter, ran out from behind the gate. "Tayo, leave her! She's my friend!" The guard blinked. "You're what?" "Yeah, she showed me how to draw a goat last week," Omatola shouted. "You're hurting her." Tayo glanced toward the main building, unsure whether to scold the boss's daughter or double down. In the end, he chose both, shoving the girl again and saying, "She's not allowed here. It's a private school." Omatola knelt beside the girl and handed her a juice box and a coloring pencil. Aduki looked too stunned to take them. And that's when the real trouble started. Mrs. Tinuke Ajayi, head of the school and wife to the billionaire Folarin Ajayi, appeared at the top of the marble stairs. Her heels clicked like gunshots. She wore one of those stiff Ankara suits that never wrinkle, and her eyes were like lasers scanning for imperfection. "What is this?" she snapped. "Why is my daughter on the ground?" Tayo saluted like a soldier. "Mom, it's the street girl. She was—" "I don't care. Get her out now." "But Ma—" "Out, or I call the police. And Chuka?" Her eyes sliced toward me. "Why are you standing there like a tree? Do your job. Get her away from here." I opened my mouth, then closed it. I looked down at Duke, still silent, still clutching that notebook like it had answers no one else cared to read. Omotola whispered to her mother, "She just wanted to learn." Tanuk didn't even glance at her daughter. Minutes later, we left Duke near the train tracks in Yaba. I gave her some water and N200, all I had in my pocket. "You have anyone?" I asked. She shook her head. "Where do you sleep?" "Behind the orange kiosk, but they chase me sometimes." I should have driven away. I almost did. But as I looked in the rearview mirror, I saw her open the notebook, lean it on her knee, and start drawing a house. Not a fancy one, just 4 walls, 1 door, a little window. Funny thing is, that house looked a lot like mine back in Abeokuta. Back at the mansion in Banana Island, I parked the car and stood by the gate like nothing happened. But all day, Omatola kept asking, "Where is she now? Is she okay? Can I see her again?" By sunset, Tanuk told the school staff to report the incident and have someone clean the back alley where a Duke had been sleeping, her exact words. That night, I couldn't sleep. The girl had no name, no family, and no safety, but she had something I hadn't seen in years: hunger for more. Real hunger. Not for food, for knowledge. And Lagos isn't kind to children like that. I told myself I'd done enough. But deep down, I knew this wasn't over. Not even close. I tried to push her out of my mind. Next day, I drove Mr. Ajayi to a meeting in Victoria Island. Traffic was brutal. Horns, heat, hawkers yelling. He sat in the back, talking on the phone about some new property deal. I just nodded at red lights, pretending the day was like any other. But my mind kept drifting. Was Aduk still by those tracks? Did she eat? Was she safe? I knew better than to care. Lagos doesn't reward soft hearts. That afternoon, I swung by the school to pick up Omatola. As she climbed in, she looked me dead in the eye. "You found her yet?" I didn't lie. "No, but I'm looking." She stared at the floor. She was nice. She said I draw good trees. That night, I drove out alone, past the kiosk near Yaba. There was no sign of a Duke. I checked behind the fruit stall, near the fence by the transformer. Nothing. I was about to give up when an old man called out from a wooden bench. He was barefoot, long-bearded, in a threadbare caftan. "You dey find small girl with big eyes?" I turned. "Yes, you know her?" He nodded. "She sleep here tonight, then go with Babalai." "Who?" "Old preacher. Give food to street pekin'. You go find him under Ajik Bridge." Next morning, I took a detour. Under the overpass, there were blue tarps and charcoal fires, smell of burnt yam peel and old sweat, the kind of place the city ignores. Babalai sat on a mat, handing bread to kids in torn shirts. He was short, dark-skinned, with eyes that looked through you, like he already knew your story. "I'm looking for a girl," I said. "About 7, quiet, name's a Duke." "She here," he said simply. "She teach small ones how to hold pencil." He gestured to a corner. There she was, crouched beside a plastic board, showing 3 kids how to write their names. Her own clothes still torn, but her back was straight like a teacher, like she belonged there. I stood frozen. "That she smart," Babalai said. "Too smart for this road, but government no see her, only God." I knelt beside her. "A Duca." She looked up, eyes wide, not afraid, just waiting. "You want some food?" I asked. She shook her head. "I'm teaching." I smiled. "Finish your class, then we eat." We shared boiled eggs and sachet water under the bridge. She told me she used to watch her mother clean houses and memorize what the children there studied. "I just like when I learn something new," she said. She never mentioned a father. I asked where she would go tonight. She shrugged. "Here's okay." "You know who I am?" I asked. "You drive the big girl with the drawings." That hit me. I gave her a little notebook and promised to visit again. That evening, Omatola asked if I found her. I nodded. "She's safe, still drawing." "Can I see her?" she whispered. I hesitated. "One day." She smiled. But the next morning, the story exploded. One of the school staff had filmed the juice box scene. It leaked. Online gossip blogs ran with it. Billionaire's daughter befriends street urchin. Mrs. Ajayi called an emergency meeting. Parents threatened to withdraw their kids. Donors called. Board members panicked. And just like that, the hunt began. Not for who leaked the video, but for the girl in it. Aruke. The pressure came fast. By noon, Tinuka Jai had summoned all staff into the marble-floored conference room, her voice cut like glass. "We are not a charity. We are not a rehabilitation center. Whoever allowed my daughter to mix with that street girl has 24 hours to confess." Nobody spoke, but I felt every eye dart toward me, even if no one said my name. I stayed in the shadows, waiting by the car. When Omatola came out, she wasn't smiling. "She's in trouble, isn't she?" I nodded. Later that day, I overheard the security guards gossiping. One said police were being called to clean up under Ageg Bridge. Not officially, of course, just to move vagrants. And I rushed there before sundown. The place was already in chaos. Sirens blaring, kids running, uniformed men with sticks shouting, "Clear out! This is not your father's land." I scanned the crowd. No sign of a Duke. Then I saw Babalai, blood on his lip, holding up a torn Bible as a kind of shield. "They are children, not dogs," he yelled. A constable shoved him to the ground. I forced my way through, shouting, "Where is the girl?" He gasped. "They took her in the van with the small ones." I turned to the street and saw a rusted police van rattling off into traffic. I drove like a madman. Checked Ilupeju station. Nothing. Drove to Ojwalegba. Nothing. Finally, at Mushin substation, a woman in a khaki blouse confirmed, "We picked up a few juveniles. No ID. They'll be processed tomorrow." "Can I see them?" "Family only." "I'm her uncle." "You have proof?" I said nothing. She shrugged. "Then come with court order, or call someone big." I drove away, heart pounding. That night, I couldn't sit still. I called in a favor from my cousin in Alamosho. He used to clean for an inspector, gave me a number, told me to call a man named DSP Olatunde. The next morning, I stood outside his office, sweating in the heat. He was tall, gray-bearded, with sharp eyes. "You're the one calling about the street girl?" "Yes, sir. Her name is Duke. She's only 7. She didn't do anything." He lit a cigarette slowly. "You think the city works on justice? Or files? It works on phone calls." I nodded. "I'm asking for help. I have no money, but I can owe you." He chuckled. "What do you do?" "I drive for Fowler and Ajayi." That got his attention. He leaned forward. "Ajayi, the real estate giant?" "Yes." He took a long drag. I'll see what I can do." An hour later, he called. "Go to the juvenile holding unit in Sur-Lair. She's there." When I arrived, a Duke was sitting alone on a bench. Her cheeks were dirty. Her notebook was gone. When she saw me, she didn't cry. She just asked, "Did they burn the drawings?" My throat tightened. "No, I'll get you a new one." I signed fake papers, calling myself her cousin. As we walked out, she held my hand without looking up. We didn't talk. Just silence, hot and thick like the Sur-Lair air. Back at my one-room place in Barriga, I laid a mat on the floor and gave her some rice and eggs. She sat cross-legged, careful not to spill. That night, she whispered, "You didn't have to come." I whispered back, "I know." But I had. Because somehow, this wasn't just about her anymore. It was about me, too. The part of me I'd forgotten still cared. The next morning, a Duke was still asleep on the mat. Sunlight filtered through the torn curtain, painting stripes on her face. For a moment, she looked like any other child, safe, calm, dreaming, not like someone who had spent the night before in a holding cell. I made tea, not much else in the house, just stale bread, sugar cubes, and leftover rice. When she woke, she didn't speak at first, just looked around, then at me. "You live alone?" she asked. I nodded. "Since my sister passed." She didn't ask how, just said, "Your house is quiet." I smiled. "Too quiet sometimes." She picked at the bread, dipping it in tea like a ritual. Later that day, I dropped Mr. Ajayi at a meeting. He didn't look at me. I knew he'd seen the video. The whole city had. The street girl, his daughter, the juice box. It had gone viral. When I returned to the car, he said, "My wife is furious." I kept my mouth shut. "She wants the girl gone. No more talk, no more rumors. Clear?" "Yes, sir." I started the engine, but I didn't say where the girl was. That night, I made a plan. I asked my old friend Bisi, a teacher in Makoko, if she could test a Duke. Nothing official, just a little reading, some writing, see what she knew. We met in a church hall that smelled like old wood and chalk dust. A Duke sat at the desk, small feet dangling, fingers tied around a borrowed pencil. Bisi asked her to write the alphabet. She did, with neat, confident strokes. "Now numbers 1 to 20. A Dukey paused. "Can I do to 30? Bisi smiled. "Go ahead." Then some word problems, reading passages, spelling, even basic Yoruba proverbs. She got them all. After an hour, Bisi leaned toward me. "This girl is sharper than half my class." "She's never been to school," I said. Bisi looked stunned. "Impossible!" She watched other kids learn, memorized. We sat in silence. "She needs a place, a real school," I said. Bisi sighed. "That's not just about smarts, Chuka. It's fees, uniforms, forms, bribes. And someone always asks, where's her file, her birth certificate?" "She has nothing." "Then no one will take her, unless someone big steps in." I nodded, though I had no idea who that could be. Back at home, a Duke was sketching on a piece of cardboard. A house again. This time, with smoke from the roof and people standing outside. "Who are they?" I asked. "Me, you, and a woman. She's my mummy." I tried to swallow the knot in my throat. "Do you remember her?" "She used to sing when she cooked. Even when there was no meat, she sang." She handed me the drawing. "You can keep it." I taped it to the wall. Then, 2 nights later, it happened. I came back from work to find my front door wide open. Inside, ransacked. Clothes thrown, drawers pulled, the mattress slit. And a Duque gone. My chest locked up. A note lay on the floor, scratched on a receipt paper. "We warned you, she doesn't belong here." I grabbed my phone, called BC, nothing, called Baba Lai. He hadn't seen her. I ran through Barriga like a madman, checked every kiosk, bus stop, corner lot. Then I remembered the fruit vendor near the school. I ran there. She saw me coming. "You're too late," she said. "What?" "A van, same one from last time. They grabbed some boys and one small girl. Said she's causing problems." I staggered. "How long ago?" "An hour." I turned, rage boiling in my throat. Not again. Not this time. They took her because she mattered now, because she was noticed, because someone wanted her forgotten. But I wouldn't let that happen. Not this time. Not while I still had breath. I didn't sleep that night. I just sat on the edge of my bed, staring at the blank wall where a Duke's drawing had been. The tape was still there, just the tape. The cardboard was gone, like her. By dawn, I'd made up my mind. If they thought they could erase her, they picked the wrong man to test. I put on my cleanest shirt, the one I saved for weddings, and went to see someone I never thought I'd ask for help again. Inspector Yusuf. Back in the day, we were friends, sort of. He used to borrow my old Corolla when he needed to impress women. Then came the scandal, some case about a missing phone and a slap at a checkpoint. He got reassigned, I got distant. He worked now at a dusty office behind the old market in Ido. It smelled like sweat, ink, and roasted maize. When I walked in, he looked up slowly. "Chuka?" I nodded. He stood, arms crossed. "How many years since I saw your face?" "Enough to forget why we fought." He cracked half a smile. "You in trouble?" I took a deep breath. "Not me, a girl, 7 years old. Picked off the street last night. Not by criminals, by people trying to hide her." He motioned for me to sit. "Go on." I told him everything. The school, the viral video, the wife, the guards, the first van, the holding cell, the drawing on my wall, the note. He listened without a word. When I was done, he lit a cigarette and stared out the window. "House sounds like somebody's cleaning house," he muttered. "She's a child," I said. "Not a problem." He tapped ash onto the floor. "You want help?" "Yes." "Then you owe me a favor." "What kind?" "I'll think of something." He pulled out a battered folder. "There's a place near mile 12, not an official holding center, more like storage." "Storage?" "Kids too inconvenient for court. NGOs sometimes pick them up, but mostly they're forgotten. It's off books. If she's not in any official list, she's probably there." I stood. "Take me." "No," he said. "You can't go as you. You go as a driver picking up someone's niece. I'll make the call. You have one shot." An hour later, I was in a borrowed car, wearing a name badge that said, "Logistics Assistant, Beta Foundation." The gate was rusted, the guards asleep. A woman in a purple head wrap led me through the hall. No signs, just rooms with bars instead of doors. Then I saw her. Aduke. She was in a corner, knees to her chest, arms crossed like she was protecting something invisible. When she saw me, her eyes didn't widen. She just exhaled. I said, "They sent me. I'm taking you somewhere better." She nodded once. No tears. The woman handed me a clipboard. "Sign, print, take her. Don't ask questions." We walked out under the morning sun. I didn't speak until we reached the car. She looked out the window, watching a hawk glide over a garbage dump. "I dreamed about you," she said softly. I glanced at her. "What did I do in the dream?" "You gave me a school, not a big one, just one room, with books." I smiled. "Maybe dreams come true." She turned to me. "Not for people like me." I wanted to say something wise, something strong, but I didn't. I just started the engine. Back in Bariga, we stayed low. I told Bisi she was safe again. Baba Lai sent food. I changed my SIM card. For 2 days, the world forgot us again. Then on the third day, my phone rang. Unknown number. I almost didn't answer. But I did. The voice was calm, male, polished. "Mr. Chuka," it said, "we know where you live, and we know the girl is with you. Return her quietly, or your past becomes very public." Click. I stood frozen. My past? What did they know? I looked at a Duke. She was drawing again. A mountain this time, with a house at the top and tiny steps leading up. She looked up. "Are we moving again?" I swallowed. "No, not this time." Because this time, I wasn't running. This time, I was going to fight back. I didn't tell a Duke about the call, not because I wanted to lie, but because I wasn't sure what truth I was ready to face myself. The past is a slippery thing. You think you buried it deep enough. You change jobs, cut ties, move neighborhoods. But Lagos remembers. Back in 2009, I was a junior mechanic in Ikeja. One night, a client's SUV went missing under my watch. I didn't steal it, but the guy above me did, and I kept my mouth shut. They arrested all of us. No lawyer, no mercy. My record got marked. Even after they dropped the charges, that stain followed me like body odor and heat. Jobs got harder. People stopped trusting. So I started driving. Quiet work, no questions. But someone out there, someone with reach, had dug it all up. And they were using it to scare me. I spent that night pacing the room. A Duke was curled on the mat, drawing by flashlight. She didn't ask why I kept looking out the window. The next morning, I met with BC. She looked tired. "They came to the church," she whispered, "asking about me, about you, about her." I rubbed my face. "How many people did they send?" "Two men, clean shirts, smooth talkers, said they were from child services." I cursed under my breath. "They're not backing down," she said. "They want this girl gone." I leaned forward. "BZ, what if we made her visible instead?" She blinked. "What do you mean?" I explained the idea. We would take a Duke to a public event, somewhere high profile, where children were being celebrated, where cameras would be, where erasing her would become too risky. "Make her unhideable," I said. BC hesitated. "That's dangerous." "So is silence." She sighed. "I know a school in Surulera doing a youth literacy day. NGOs, writers, journalists, not big media, but enough eyes. I can get us 5 minutes on stage." I nodded. 5 minutes is all we need. That week, we prepped a Duke like we were smuggling treasure. BC coached her on reading a poem, one she'd written herself. I pressed her dress, borrowed from BC's niece. Babalai brought beads for her hair. I fixed an old pair of sandals with glue and thread. The morning of the event, the air was dry and full of dust. Harmattan had started to creep in. Lagos looked pale under the sky. We arrived early. Children in uniforms milled about. Tents flapped in the wind. Microphones screeched. A Duke held my hand tight. "What if I forget the words?" "You won't," I said. "But even if you do, just speak from your heart. That's stronger than any paper." She smiled, shaky but brave. When her name was called, she walked up like a warrior in borrowed shoes. She stood at the microphone, barely taller than the stand. Then she began, "I am a Duke. I am not from a palace, not from a mansion, but I have books in my dreams." Her voice was soft but steady. "I have slept in noise. I have eaten silence. I have drawn homes I never entered. But I know letters. I know words. I know the power of knowing." The crowd grew still. Even the MC stopped fiddling with his phone. I do not need pity. I do not want money. I just want a chair, a chalk, a teacher who sees me. When she finished, it was quiet for a beat too long. Then someone clapped, then another. Then the whole tent erupted. I saw BC wiping tears. A man in a suit recorded it on his phone. A woman in Ankara whispered to another, "Who is this child?" I felt my heart slam with something between pride and terror. We had done it. We had made her visible. But as we stepped off the stage, I noticed a man by the back fence. Dark sunglasses, gray cap, watching, not clapping. And I knew this wasn't over. When we returned home that evening, I checked the locks twice. Then the knock came. Not a loud one, just 3 taps. I opened slowly. It was Chuka's landlord. Behind him, 2 men in plain clothes. "They say they're here to inspect something," he muttered. "They showed badge, but no uniform." I stepped outside. The taller man smiled. "Evening, just a routine check. Can we talk inside?" "Who sent you?" I asked. He didn't blink. "People who care about the girl." "She's not here," I said. "Are you sure?" "She's not here." He sighed. "You're making this harder than it needs to be." I took a step closer. "Then maybe it's time things got hard." They looked at each other, then turned. "No problem, Miss Chuka. We'll come back." They walked off slow, too slow. A Duke was hiding behind the water drum. I joined her in the dark, heart racing. You okay? I asked. She nodded. Are they the ones who burn drawings? I swallowed. Worse, they erase names. She took my hand. Then don't let them take mine. The next morning, the video of a Duke's poem started spreading. Not fast, not like a wildfire, but slow, like a quiet river starting to rise. A writer with a blog shared it, then a teachers group reposted. By evening, a small local radio station played the audio. That girl from the streets, the host said. She speaks like a prophet. It wasn't national news, but it was enough. Enough for the pressure to change shape. That night, I received a call, not from a stranger, from Mr. Folarin Ajayi himself. He never called me before, not once. Even when I drove him across 3 states for a land deal, not a single word outside, turn left. Now he said my name like we'd been old friends. Chuka, my man, we need to talk. I didn't answer. You're a smart man, a quiet man. I've always liked that. So, let me be honest. My wife is passionate. She overreacts sometimes. The thing with the girl, it's complicated. I stayed silent. She needs to go away quietly. No more poems, no more shows. You'll be compensated, handsomely. A job promotion, maybe your own car. What happens to her? She'll be taken care of, somewhere safe, somewhere private. You mean erased. His voice hardened. Be careful, Chuka. You've been trusted. Don't throw it away. He hung up. I sat there, phone buzzing in my hand, as the room darkened around me. They weren't just afraid of the girl anymore. They were afraid of the idea of her. Bisi came by that night. She'd seen the video reach a women's group in Lekki. They're asking if she has a sponsor, she said. They want to help, but they're scared of the name Ajayi. I nodded. They're right to be. We knew we had to move, again, but not hide, not this time. Bisi had a contact, Auntie Ronki, a retired headmistress who ran a community school in Badagry. No uniforms, no donors, just chalk, sweat, and mercy. We called. She listened. Then she said, bring the girl, but come before Friday. After that, the road gets dangerous. So we planned the move. 1 night, 1 bag, 1 road trip. But Lagos doesn't like clean escapes. The morning we were meant to leave, the landlord's cousin came knocking, drunk, loud, looking for his missing phone. I heard that girl steal, he yelled. Street children are thieves. He pushed past me, storming into the room. A Duke was in the corner, clutching her bag. He pointed. That's her! She took it! I grabbed his wrist. Get out. He swung. I blocked, shoved him back. Neighbors poured into the corridor, phones out, voices rising. You hit him. She's a thief. She's a child. The landlord appeared, arms raised. What's going on here? I took a breath. Call the police if you want, but she didn't steal anything. Check her bag. They did. Nothing. Just the notebook, a half-eaten mango, and a pencil stub. The cousin staggered, confused. Then where's my phone? It buzzed in his back pocket. Dead silence. Someone laughed. The crowd slowly scattered. The landlord muttered apologies. I turned to a Duke. Her eyes were glassy, but she didn't cry. Later, as we rode in the Danfo toward Badagry, she leaned against me. Why do people hate me so fast? I stared out the window. Because they don't know you yet, I said. She closed her eyes. Then let them hear my name again. Badagry smelled different. Not like Lagos. It smelled of salt and dust, of old markets and slow mornings. The air felt wider, softer. The Danfo dropped us near an old petrol station. From there, we walked. Mud splashed up our legs. A Duke didn't complain. She kept humming like she knew something good was waiting. Auntie Ronk's school sat behind a church. 3 buildings with flaking paint and hand-painted signs that read, "Knowledge is freedom," and "No one is too small to learn." The gate was open. Children played in the sand with bottle caps and sticks. No shoes, but full of laughter. Inside the office, Auntie Runke waited, a wide woman with white braids, deep laugh lines, and eyes that saw through pride. You must be Chuka, she said. I nodded. She looked at a Duke, and you're the one who speaks like thunder in the mouth of a child. A Duke blinked. She's shy, I said. Good. That means she watches before she talks. Come, child. She held out a hand. A duke took it. They disappeared into the back. I sat on a bench, sweating through my shirt. When they returned, Ronki handed me a form. She'll start tomorrow. We don't do uniforms. Just come clean and curious. I exhaled. Thank you. She's not safe, is she? She asked. No, I said. She nodded. Then we make her useful. Useful children are harder to erase. That night, I stayed at a cousin's place nearby. 1 room, 5 people. No fan, no light, but safe. A duke slept beside me on a raffia mat, in her arms, the notebook. By morning, she was ready. Hair freshly braided, dress ironed, sandals still holding. She ran into class like she'd always belonged there. I watched from the window. Ronki joined me. She's going to lead here. I see it. Even with no papers, no past. Ronke smiled. The present is enough if it's loud enough. For 3 days, we stayed quiet. No strange calls, no knocks. BC texted once, said things had calmed down in Lagos. Even Mrs. Ajayi had gone silent. But silence isn't always peace. On the 4th morning, while a duke was in class, I walked into the nearby market to buy water. As I crossed the street, I saw a familiar face leaning against a yellow kiki. Tayo, the guard from the school. He wasn't wearing his uniform now, but it was him. Same nose, same heavy arms, same way of watching. He looked at me, smiled, then slowly walked away. I dropped the water, ran back to the school. A duke was still in class. Ronki met me halfway. What's wrong? They found us. She didn't flinch. Let them come. No, you don't understand. They don't come to talk. I pulled her aside, told her everything. The threats, the van, the calls. Her expression hardened. We'll move her, she said. Where? I know someone, a man who owes me. He runs a printing shop near Seam Border. Quiet. He can hide her till I call. I hesitated. I've been running too long. You want to stop? Then strike. Strike how? Find the crack, the place where they care about what others see. That evening, I made a call. Not to the police. Not to a lawyer. To a man named Malam Bako, a radio host who runs a late-night show in Ikeja. He once interviewed me about road accidents when I was still a mechanic. He owed me, said I saved his cousin's leg. I told him I have a story, a real one, about a girl who speaks poetry and people want her gone. He paused. Will she speak on air? No, but I will, and I'll bring her words. He agreed. We set it for Thursday, midnight. The station didn't get huge reach, but it echoed. Truckers, night drivers, guards, nurses, people who don't sleep when the city does. When I walked into the studio, Bako looked older, thinner, but his voice still held power. He welcomed me like a brother. Say what you need, just no full names. I nodded. And I spoke. I told the story of a child who had no shoes but held a pencil like a weapon, who had no birth certificate but taught kids under a bridge, who wrote her name over the city's silence. Bako played a clip of her poem. For 30 seconds, the air felt holy. Then I ended with one sentence. They tried to erase her name, so we wrote it louder. We signed off. I walked into the Lagos night, and for the first time in weeks, I felt something like hope. But hope has a cost, and by dawn, I'd learned exactly what mine was. The next morning came too fast. I barely slept. My voice from the radio still rang in my ears. At first, it felt like nothing had changed, just the wind pushing dry leaves through the street. A duke was braiding another girl's hair outside the school. Ronki boiled yam by the kitchen window. Life tried to pretend it was normal, until the white pickup truck arrived. It parked just beyond the church fence. 2 men in suits stepped out. Not police, not labeled. One held a tablet, the other had a walkie-talkie. They didn't ask questions, they just stood and watched. Ronki spotted them first. Inside, she snapped, now. I pulled the duke back. Her small fingers tightened around mine. They're here, aren't they? She said quietly. Yes. Ronki locked the school gate, waved the children toward the back. The men didn't approach, not yet. They just filmed, documented, waiting for something. BC called me 10 minutes later. Chuka, the radio worked, but it worked too well. What do you mean? People are reposting, NGO reps, teachers, but so are others. Someone leaked your name, and hers, the full names. My stomach dropped. They'll come with more than cameras next time. I looked at Aduke. She was trying to stay calm, but her hands shook. I crouched. You remember what you told me? That dream about the school with one room and books? She nodded. Keep dreaming it. Hold it tight. That night, Ronke packed 2 bags. You need to go, now. I have a friend in Benin Republic. He runs a shelter for trafficked kids. No IDs, no questions. Just safe beds and clean slates. I hesitated. We crossed the border? She looked at me hard. You want her to live? Aduke watched us in silence. I turned to her. It's your choice. If you want to go, I'll get you there. If not, we stay and face whatever comes. She whispered, Do they have pencils? Ronke laughed. Child, they have notebooks, crayons, books with pictures, even a library. That night, I borrowed a car from Ronke's mechanic. It was barely holding together. Cracked windshield, no AC, engine coughs like a drunk man. But it moved. We left just past midnight. The road to Seam was quiet but tense. Every pair of headlights made me grip the wheel tighter. Aduke didn't sleep. She watched the trees pass, one hand on her notebook. At the checkpoint near Badagry roundabout, 2 officers flagged us down. I played it cool, greeted them in Yoruba, said we were heading to Cotonou to visit family. One peered inside. This your daughter? I nodded. She quiet. She loves books more than talking. He laughed, rare these days. He waved us through. Just past the border post, we met the contact. A man named Felix, tall, bald, sharp eyes. He didn't talk much, just looked at Aduke and nodded. She'll be safe, he said, but you cannot come further. Aduke hugged me hard. For the first time, she cried. You said we'd stop running. I swallowed. We did. This is not running, this is arriving. She let go. Felix led her down a dirt path into the trees. I stood by the road, the car rumbling behind me, until their shadows disappeared. And then I turned back. But Lagos wasn't done with me. As I drove back into town, 2 black SUVs blocked the road near Badagry Expressway. Men stepped out, not police. One wore dark glasses, even though it was 3 a.m. He knocked on my window. Where is the girl? I didn't answer. He opened the door, pulled me out, punched me in the ribs, once, twice. I fell to the ground. He crouched. You think you're smart? Blood filled my mouth. She's not your daughter, he hissed. You think people care about street trash? Then he stood. Stay silent, or next time, we don't ask first. They left me in the dust. I lay there for hours, until sunrise burned the sky orange. And I remembered Aduke's voice. I do not need pity, I just want a chair. 3 broken ribs, 1 cracked tooth. That's what they left me with. And a message, stay quiet, stay small, stay forgotten. But pain doesn't silence a man who's already been to the bottom. I spent 3 days recovering at Bissy's place. She patched me with herbal balm and silence. She didn't ask questions, just kept a cool cloth on my head and fed me soft rice. When I finally stood up, it wasn't revenge I wanted. It was clarity. I called Malambako. Tape everything, I told him. All the old messages, all the threats, my call with Ajayi, the photos, the voice from the SUV, the video of her poem. Don't post it yet. Just store it. He hesitated. You planning to go public? Not yet, just insurance. Then I went to see someone I hadn't seen in 10 years. His name was Baba Segun, former Ajayi estate steward, retired, quiet man. But once, he saw everything. He opened his gate slowly. Chuka? I need you to listen. He poured me palm wine. Let me talk. I told him the whole story. Aduke, the threats, the silence. He didn't interrupt. When I finished, he nodded slowly. There's a driver inside Mr. Ajayi's house, he said. Young boy, curious type, likes to record things on his phone. Talk to him. That night, I waited near the estate back gate. When the young driver came out, I offered him suya and truth. He laughed. I thought you were dead. Not yet. He handed me a flash drive. Got something last week. Audio, Mr. and Mrs. Ajayi arguing. She said, erase the girl before she becomes a movement. He said, it's too late. She already is. I thanked him. Then I left Lagos. Not running, not anymore. Just done. I went to Abeokuta, to the land my father left me, half cleared, overgrown, but real. With BC's help, we put up a roof. Ronki sent benches. Babalai showed up with chalk. Malam Bako sent a microphone. We didn't call it a school. We called it the room with a chair. No uniform, no anthem, no fees. Just stories, pencils, and names that weren't allowed to disappear. 2 months later, a letter came. No return address. Inside, a drawing, a small house, smoke from the chimney, a girl in a dress. She'd signed it, Aruke Oluwatoyin. Then a sentence below. I haven't stopped dreaming. I sat with that letter in my hand for a long time. Then I walked outside. The sun was high. Children sat in the shade, reading from torn books, their lips moving like seeds pushing through dry soil. One boy looked up. Uncle Chuka, is it true you used to fight bad people? I smiled. No, son, I just refuse to forget good ones. He nodded. That's better. I looked at the trees swaying above and thought, maybe it is. Because sometimes the biggest fight isn't against power, it's against silence. And all it takes to win is to say one name, loud enough that no one can ever unhear it. Aduke